In City H, the day seemed totally normal, but things were about to go crazy real fast. The crew at this fancy apartment building was just soaking up the sun by the pool. Then, a girl in the water asks someone to snap a picture of her. Our boy grabs his phone and swears he's a total pro at photography. She gives him a hug and asks if he'll take pictures of her forever. But suddenly, the kid notices something super weird happening up in the sky.
Day turns into night out of nowhere, and he can't even process how it got dark so fast. A bunch of flashing red danger warnings start popping up right in front of everyone. He starts freaking out, asking if she sees those floating signs in the air too.
A warning pops up saying that everybody just got teleported to another dimension. The girl goes into pure shock, totally clueless, while the countdown clock hits 2. Our MC even tries to crack a joke, but the countdown already drops down to 1. And that's when everything flips. A bizarre light explodes and completely warps reality. Somewhere else, a dude is looking at himself in the mirror, looking absolutely spooked. That guy is seriously panicking because of the massive racket coming from outside. A totally wild blue creature shows up, just wrecking everything in its path. It lands with a heavy crash right near the pool, and things get super tense. 2 guys start screaming their heads off when they realize they've grown razor-sharp teeth. Everyone around goes into full-blown panic mode and starts yelling. Meanwhile, the blue monster is dodging everything they throw at it. One guy gets launched against the wall with some ridiculous force. Running for his life, the MC tries to book it while the girl chases right behind him. The blue beast is watching everything with a seriously creepy and intense glare. Then it straight up crushes an object glowing with its dark energy. Shen Jin-tung looks back, breaking into a cold sweat and scared out of his mind. But check out what happens next. He shoves the girl so she'll stop following him. With a quick swipe, he hits the girl right on the mark. She drops to the floor and gets knocked out cold from the impact. Waking up a little bit later, she cries in pain, seeing the total mess around her. In the background, she hears a huge crash coming from a nearby door. A monster's hand crashes right through the floor in front of her. That giant spearman troll pops out of nowhere, ready to attack. The monster readies a massive swing with that huge spear. Completely out of breath, the girl is frozen in absolute terror. The beast's spear smashes into the ground, breaking everything to pieces. This troll gets into position amidst the rubble to strike again. But then Shen Jinfeng steps right in front of her holding nothing but a tiny little knife. He stares the beast down with a look that says he knows exactly what he's doing. The girl warns him that his little knife won't even leave a scratch on the monster. Brushing off her warning, our main guy takes a step forward, ready to brawl. The troll attacks, but the kid dodges it with some insane agility. Then he tosses down 2 cards that start spinning on the floor. A magic circle pops up and completely locks the beast's spear mid-air. Soon enough, the monster's weapon ends up sealed right inside one of the cards. Totally confused, the troll picks up the other card Shen tossed his way. The beast just stares at it, completely clueless about the guy's game plan. Smiling, the monster holds the card like it just won the lottery. The girl is totally stunned watching the monster grab the item. She asks if he has another trick up his sleeve or if they should just make a run for it. At that moment, the beast gets super mad and things start heating up. Right then, the card reveals a skull letting out this creepy smoke. Purple smoke starts taking shape right in front of him. The whole thing transforms into a shadowy clone of the troll itself, spear included. The clone goes all out against the original, delivering a heavy blow right to its chest. That shadow fades away, and the purple card drops to the floor. A screen pops up letting him know he scored some experience points in special items. The girl sits on the ground, super relieved that she survived the attack. She asks for his phone to call the cops. But he looks at her like she's crazy. Our MC explains they're in another dimension with 0 cell service. The girl panics, saying it's game over for her if she sees another one of those beasts. So Shen tosses her an item to help her awaken her powers. She looks at the glowing stone, having no idea what it's supposed to be. Jinfeng explains that it's a stone dropped by the first monster you defeat. Curious, the girl asks how she's supposed to use the item. With a smirk on his face, he tells her to just straight up eat the stone. Startled, she asks if that's really it and says she doesn't want to fight. He points out a shelter nearby where she can trade for some valuable gear. He also gives her a heads up that he cleared the path. But she needs to run right now. The girl realizes he isn't tagging along and wants to know why, but he keeps it blunt and says there's no way he's going. And here's where it takes a turn. He reveals he still has a target to take out. 3 days ago, he got dragged into this place that only brings people in to brawl. He lucked out fighting a weak beast at the start, otherwise he would have been toast. Right then, a prompt pops up saying he got the stone to awaken his powers. In the flashback, Shen pops that stone right into his mouth. The kid is surprised because the thing actually tastes like chocolate. Then a screen tells him he's awakened and can create clones of anything he sees. Suddenly, a purple card spawns in his hand out of thin air. He can also control the clone and see everything through its eyes. Realizing he doesn't have a specific class, he figures his power is one of a kind. A loud noise at the door catches his attention in the middle of the hallway. Another spearman troll busts the door down and rushes him going all out. The beast manages to catch the card Shen tossed right out of the air, but the card turns into a giant mirror right in front of the monster. Out of the mirror, a troll clone pops out, ready to throw down. The clone chucks the original monster against the door, smashing everything. That troll tries to strike back with a punch that wrecks the floor. However, the copy dodges the hit like it's no big deal. The copy then spawns an energy spear right in its hand, and with a perfectly aimed strike, it hits the original beast right in the chest. A message pops up letting him know he earned some experience and a few coins. Holding the card, he swears he's going to track down the guy he's looking for. Far off, the girl walks toward the building, seeing that the coast is clear. She looks at the stone and totally regrets not thanking Shen. The girl decides she's going to thank him properly the next time they meet. But then the tables turn. A car hits her head-on and sends her flying. She hits the pavement completely bruised up after that hit, bleeding pretty badly. The girl can only think about how she doesn't want it to end like this. Some dude with a bottle in his hand walks up, and she begs for help. The poor thing tries to hand him the stone in exchange for a hand. She's not backing down, just telling herself over and over that she's not ready to bite the dust. Out of nowhere, a truck goes zooming by and doesn't even bother stopping to help. Yahello, the guy behind the wheel, flashes this wicked smirk, just eating the whole situation up. He thinks this new world is totally awesome because he can do whatever the heck he wants with zero consequences. Looking at his stolen loot, he's just laughing his head off at how crazy good he has it. Outside, the city is already pitch black and completely swallowed by the night. Then, the camera pans to a parking lot totally packed with cars. That little girl is hiding out by a car, desperately trying to get her phone to work. The screen just shows that the Calder mom dropped yet again. Bawling her eyes out, she goes into full panic mode, completely clueless about what's going on. Suddenly, this massive monster shadow looms right over her. She looks up, and a terror hits her like a ton of bricks. A shot comes whizzing right past her head. Right then, this blue monster with a spear pops up and blocks the hit. The Waffy comes rushing in and screams at the kid to get down right now. He just starts blasting away at that freaky-looking creature. The beast takes the hit, goes flying, and crashes super hard onto a car. The system confirms the win, and Luffy is like, "Man, that thing was tough to take down." Our little girl walks up, crying that she can't get a hold of her mom. Luffy tries to chill her out, promising they'll find her folks. But out of absolute nowhere, an arrow comes flying straight at his face. A bunch more arrows smash into the car next to them, proving things are getting real. Looking around, he catches this creepy glow cutting through the dark. Not wasting a single second, he tells the kid to go hide behind the concrete. Right after that, our soldier dude tosses a smoke grenade straight into the ground. The system pop-up lets us know his smoke skill is officially active. Peeking through the haze is a level 1 archer troll. The beast locks eyes on its target, totally ready to let it rip. Then, the big ugly lets another nasty arrow fly from his bow. The shot slices right through the smoke, but Luffy manages to block it with his gun. The thing blasts on impact, sending shrapnel flying everywhere. Using his X-ray vision, he realizes this guy is way too fast. He toggles stealth mode on so he can sneak up without making a peep. Taking careful aim, he fires off a homing shot that locks right onto the target. The archer troll scrambles to dodge the bullets any way he can, but even while running, the creature gets lit up by the shots. The beast actually tries to use its bow to bat the bullets away. Suddenly, the monster looks down, feeling something super weird under its foot. That's when it hits him. He just stepped right onto a live landmine. The explosion is absolutely massive, and the system confirms the monster is toast. Breathing a huge sigh of relief, he notices his mana bar is basically running on fumes. Our soldier calls the kid over so they can bounce before another one of those things shows up. But our Asdanjan voice totally breaks the silence and grabs his attention. Yelling, he warns that this car literally just spawned out of nowhere. The ride comes zooming in, and he realizes the kid is right in its crosshairs. With nowhere to go, he screams in pain as he takes the hit full force. That piece of junk drags him for several feet without even tapping the brakes. The driver just floors it and speeds off without looking back. But wait, the truck throws it in reverse and stops right in front of our battered hero. Yao Liangshin hops out and starts making fun of him for trying to play the big hero. All beat up, Luffy begs the guy to take his stuff but just let the kid go. Smiling like an absolute psycho, the villain goes, "Sure, no problem," and pulls out a blade. With zero chill and no mercy, he finishes poor Luffy off right there. He's got this sick look of satisfaction on his face as he wraps up his dirty work. The little guy sees the whole thing go down and just books it out of there in pure panic. Liangshin looks at the running kid and brags that he gets nothing out of bullying weaklings. But then a light bulb goes off. He realizes no cops are gonna bust him for anything anymore. Flexing this totally weird power, he starts controlling the cars around him like toys. He hotwires this black SUV that was just chilling parked nearby. The SUV peels out and charges straight for the kid running down the street. Glancing back, the kid sees a whole lot of danger heading his way super fast. All of a sudden, a massive shadow drops in and stops the ride cold with a single punch. One of the beast's giant hands completely crushes the hood right while the villain is busy roasting the kid. He literally asks with a smirk if the kid ended up getting a little boo-boo. Plot twist, Liangshin himself ends up pinned under all that twisted metal. Sweating bullets, he suddenly realizes he messed up big time. Right in front of him, the kid is just hanging out with an absolutely terrifying monster. The bad guy freaks out when he realizes he's staring down a level 2 troll. The dark smoke clears out, revealing our MC just standing there looking like an absolute boss. Dude, at that exact moment the villain finally realizes who our main guy is. Jin Feng has leveled up to 2 now, rocking 20 HP and 20 mana. Flashback to 4 months ago, the camera cuts to this super empty road. He's on the phone with his cousin, trying to figure out when she's getting home for dinner. Ruining answers from her motorcycle, telling him she's gonna be late and he should just eat without her. But right when he brings up her birthday, this awful crashing sound cuts the call short. Metal pieces go flying everywhere after this completely brutal impact. Even her shoe gets knocked clean off and goes flying down the highway. That crazy-looking car just guns it right at the girl. Ruinin takes a massive hit and gets tossed super far down the road. A bit further down, the car slams on the brakes, leaving her just lying there on the asphalt. Instead of getting out to help, the jerk behind the wheel floors it and disappears into the trees. The taillights fade out as the hit-and-run driver bails from the scene. Lying on the ground, she can hear Shen screaming through the phone, begging to know what happened. The phone slips right out of her hand and shatters into a million pieces on the pavement. Skip to 3 months later, and the judge literally lets the guilty guy walk scot-free. Liangshin flashes this smug little smirk, knowing he totally got away with it. Our boy loses his mind, screaming that the dude literally ran her over twice. Then the bad guy's rich dad has the nerve to mock the value of the poor girl's life. Jinfeng is absolutely fuming, giving the rich snob a total death glare. Snapping back to the present, he gives his monster the green light to wreck this coward. The Lancer Troll charges straight at the guy, completely out for blood. The villain starts screaming, saying he's going to send Shen right where he sent his cousin, but the creature just vaults right over the truck, fully prepped to strike. This absolute unit of a monster lands on the ground with a massive, terrifying thud. Without missing a beat, he readies his spear to deliver the final knockout blow right then and there. The tip of the weapon comes flying straight down, aiming right for the dude's chest. Except the spear ends up smashing into a car that popped up out of nowhere as a shield. Even though he's terrified out of his mind, the bad guy actually had an escape plan ready to go. 2 heavy machines get totally skewered by the strike at the very last second. And with that, the system pops up saying he used his powers to dip between the cars. The monster's weapon gets stuck in the ceiling, and the MC uses his clone's vision. He spots blood on the wall and confirms his strike was a direct hit. But where's the guy? Yin Feng looks around trying to find the punk. Suddenly, Luofi starts coughing super weakly on the ground. Luofi tips him off that the bad guy is in a car right by the main gate. Now our hero busts out his X-ray vision to scan the whole area. His eyes lock in, and he finally spots his target hiding in the dark. Just then, an engine roars and some high beams pop up out of nowhere. That ride speeds up and comes charging right at our boy. The driver yells that he's going to take Shen out once and for all. Some system messages explain that the card spawns clones with a sweet strength bonus. A massive burst of energy slams into the speeding car. It completely crushes the metal with this crazy purple power. The impact sends the thug flying, and he goes tumbling across the asphalt. With 0 mana left, the bad guy realizes he has no way to escape. And that's when things get real. The main guy walks right up and stomps hard on his hand. Mocking him, our boy asks if he gets a kick out of running people over. Completely cornered, the dude tries to buy some time with a bunch of excuses. He begs for mercy and warns that his dad is gonna get payback. Our boy flashes a smirk and asks if that's actually true. Then he lands a solid punch that sends the guy flying. Screaming, the coward totally throws his own dad under the bus trying to save his own skin. But the chat ends right there with a nasty crunching sound. The system announces the enemy has been defeated and his skills have been saved. Jinfeng promises that his dad is next on the list. Looking over at Luffy, he sighs about how the good guys never last long in this world. Over in the corner, the little kid is crying, hiding his face in his hands. To keep surviving, the MC decides to snag the soldier's techniques. 4 brand new skills pop up on his screen right then and there. He decides to take the little guy to a safe shelter in the city. His path is way too dangerous to be dragging a kid along. They arrive at this massive building that works as a safe haven for everyone, but the guard blocks their way in, and our main guy isn't happy about it at all. Zhao Jia lets them know that to get in, you've got to be useful or run some missions. Without a second thought, the kid agrees to head out and hunt some monsters. The watchman starts shuffling through his papers looking for a job. He shows them there's only one level 2 monster left to hunt, even though it's risky. Shen takes the gig and asks them to look after the boy. Walking through the night, our boy locks in on his hunting target. Near a dumpster, he stops and starts getting ready. Tossing a piece of paper away, he focuses up to track down the beast. And that's when everything shifts. He activates his X-ray vision right now. His eyes scan every single inch of that shady area. Pretty quickly, he spots a weird shadow creeping on top of a building. A masked troll lets out this creepy laugh from way up there. Out of nowhere, a fireball nails the monster right in the chest. The impact kicks up a huge cloud of black smoke on the roof. Wang Tong shows up celebrating her flawless hit, but the leader asks if she even knows why they came as a squad. She warns that the dust is settling and they're still not out of the woods. When the dust finally clears, where's the monster? The troll completely vanished into thin air. Wang Tang acts all cocky, bragging that even an elite can't tank a shot to the face. But a super weird frog just pops up right behind Huoshi out of nowhere. The system chimes in saying this curse turns anyone into a crazy critter. That creature, which is actually the sniper, leaps right at Li Jie. Freaked out, the guy barely dodges getting bitten by his own teammate. Wasting no time, the frog opens its mouth to strike again. Not messing around, the swordsman draws his weapon and slices the beast in 2. He just stands there as the remains of his partner hit the floor. Huoshi can't believe it and calls out his partner for that crazy move. Furious, Wijia tells him to shut his trap or he's gonna be next. That instantly spooks the knight, who starts sweating bullets under his helmet. Right after that, the swordsman points at absolutely nothing and lets out a yell. Jumping high in the air, he unleashes a heavy skill and slashes right through a tree trunk. The guy glares at his wrecked target trying to spot the hiding monster. Then things get real. A bizarre lizard jumps right onto his back. Without missing a beat, he figures out the enemy attacks while invisible. Sick of this, the guy fires off several blue energy slashes. One of those strikes hits a concrete pillar with some serious impact. Acting all tough, he shouts that he finally nailed the target, and immediately he gears up to drop another devastating hit. The system reveals his special attack that mixes lightning with some crazy high damage. That technique explodes in a massive electric flash, landing a direct hit. But look what happens next. The monster blocks the blade with just one hand. Confused, the swordsman realizes he targeted the totally wrong guy. The masked creature blows on its hand, totally mocking his attack. Right after, the beast whips out this weird lash and sends him flying. Tossed to the ground, the dude just laughs and makes fun of that melee attack. But his face completely drops. Me feels something weird going on with his body. He looks down at his own chest and finds a creepy mark glowing right there. The screen explains that this curse deals some really heavy damage over time. Showing no mercy, the beast chucks a giant boomerang straight at him. Realizing he's in deep trouble, the guy bails and bolts into the trees. Beat up and bruised, he runs looking for any hiding spot just to catch his breath. That blue beast spins a wooden club, getting ready to strike. And with an evil grin, the monster locks its sights right on its target. Out of nowhere, the swing comes down and crushes a little purple frog right in its path. The system shows that the summoned clone cast the exact same curse. Hiding nearby, our MC gives the order for his clone to fight. This shadow casts the curse of torment on the frog that's on the ground. At the same time, the clone attacks the original monster from behind. Yunfeng notices that hitting the frog actually breaks the spell's effect. With that, the two start trading heavy spells in a super tense duel. The two energies clash and trigger a massive explosion right there. The whole dark forest gets lit up by that huge flash. From a distance, the swordsman can't even believe somebody actually clashed with him head-on. The kid figures out the clone is weaker and plays it cool, calculating his next move. And just like that, the clone's shield completely caves under that massive damage. This monster hits him with a telekinetic curse to absolutely flatten its target. With that, it lifts the mirror clone up and slams it hard into the dirt. Getting repeatedly squashed by the monster, the copy can't even fight back. The system shows the clone's health bar is almost empty, and the beast just laughs it off. But the curse is still active and deals some serious damage back to the creature. With a magic symbol glowing in its hand, the monster charges up for another strike. Our MC spots the perfect opening and decides it's time to make his move. He tries to spawn another clone, but the system hits him with a warning that he can only use one at a time. Then, a brand new skill lights up and fires off a beam of pure energy. A pop-up says the monster got turned into an unstable frog, and the copy is totally busted. Meanwhile, a blast of dark energy comes flying full force straight at the beast. And this is where things get real. The little frog gets caught in a crazy purple explosion. The shaman is taken down and our guy levels up to 3, scoring some sweet loot. Shen celebrates, bragging that he calculated everything perfectly to bag the win. Hyped about the loot, he touches the fallen enemy and snatches up 4 new skills. Right in the middle of that, the clone spots something creepy heading their way. Without a second thought, it shoves the MC out of the way just in time. At that exact second, a vicious lightning bolt slices through the air right where he was standing. The swordsman Ligia is totally shocked because his target actually dodged the attack. With his eyes glowing red from pure rage, the enemy starts grumbling over in the corner. He touches down on the ground, kicking up a trail of dust and electricity. The guy mocks him, saying the kid might be tough, but he's still going down either way. Keeping his cool, Jinfoam just stares right back at him with a dead serious look. Just then, energy looking exactly like the monster starts radiating off our hero. Ligia is completely baffled, trying to wrap his head around how a human is using monster magic. The kid grabs the guy's arm and flat out tells him it's game over for him right here. But the coward brags about being way too fast and decides to just back off for a sec. With a wicked smirk, the villain promises to absolutely torment the kid until he's taken out. Out of nowhere, this purple energy surrounds him, and that cocky smirk gets wiped right off his face. He drops his sword the second an invisible force slams into his body. The system pops up saying he's cursed, and the dude goes into full-blown panic mode. Getting dragged around by pure telekinesis, he starts screaming that he needs to get out of there, fast. But check this out, he gets launched full speed straight into a wall. The impact is so intense it literally leaves a crater in the building, completely wrecked. He panics, thinking there's no way he can let himself get wiped out in a place like this. But the force just crushes him against the floor again, smashing everything to pieces around him. Laying in the rubble, he throws his hand up and starts begging, screaming that he gives up. But the shadow clone completely ignores his crying and just keeps on pummeling him. The villain screams out in frustration, asking how anyone could be this ruthless. Chilling in the corner, our main guy waits for the system to confirm that the dude finally bit the dust. A new quest pops up, telling him it's time to change his clone's class. He's super confused, wondering why his mirror copy gets to level up its class before he does. A screen pops up showing that hitting level 3 made all their stats perfectly matched. The scene cuts to a pitch-black courtyard right in the middle of a creepy night. Panning up slowly, we get a shot of this massive building glowing under the moonlight. An alert pops up saying he unlocked basic invisibility to go full stealth mode. He also scores a dagger and the ability to manually control his own clone. The system tells him to pick a door so he can hop into another dimension. Without hesitating, the kid goes straight for the first door on the left and turns the knob. Then his copy steps right through this really bizarre purple portal. The second the clone steps through, the door slams shut right behind him. From the other side, the knob turns again, and the door slowly starts to open. And what do you know, the clone steps out rocking white hair and a ponytail. Wrapped in purple energy, this new form flashes a seriously creepy smile. The quest tells him the clone has to stealthily take down 10 monsters. Suddenly, we cut to the snowy wasteland where a little monster is fast asleep. Nearby, a massive level 3 yeti is digging around looking for something in the snow. The camera pans over to a giant crevice hidden deep inside the icy mountain. The little monster is leaving a whole trail of footprints behind it. Snowflakes are gently falling down next to this dead, dried-up tree. Shen then links up with the clone's mind, thinking about testing out that invisibility perk. The copy uses its glowing purple hand to melt away the ice blocking the path. Out of nowhere, a chunk of ice smacks the yeti right in the back of the head. This giant horned beast lets out a massive roar and charges straight at the threat. Hiding behind a tree trunk, the clone counts down the seconds before lunging. Dude, right at that moment, the beast takes a shadow strike and faceplants hard into the snow. Pinned to the ground, the beast is trapped as the copy jumps right onto its back, completely clueless about what hit it. The monster's eyes go wide as it takes a critical hit. The shadow plunges a blade straight into the snow creature to finish it off. With the job done, the clone lands smoothly right in the middle of this dark fog. The forest floor is completely littered with little monsters wiped out in the snow. Checking out the mobs, he realizes these guys are way too slow to react. Phase 1 is officially complete with 10 takedowns, and he scores some loot along with the blade. Hyped up, the mirror copy grips the weapon, totally loving that it finally has some high-tier gear. Moving on to Phase 2, the goal is to defeat the Snow King boss without taking a single hit first. Standing outside the cave, the clone figures the boss has got to be just up ahead. But all of a sudden, this massive blue-eyed yeti seems to cash a sound. Without hesitating, the mirror copy weeps in and tries to bury the knife right in its head, but he's in for a rude awakening when the blade doesn't even scratch the yeti's skin. The system actually says the beast took some bleed damage, but now the thing is absolutely furious. And that's when things flip. The monster smashes the ground and unleashes a brutal ice spell. The explosion sends the shadow clone flying up into the air like a total rad doll. While mid-air, the mirror copy readies its glowing hand to strike right back. Blocking the attack, he absorbs the impact, sending massive cracks all over the ground. Exhausted, he braces himself and stares down the monster as it winds up for another hit. His health bar is flashing red, and he tries to snatch a potion out of the air. Right before he can drink it, a massive force pulls him straight toward the beast. The monster hammers the snow, forming this crazy-looking ice spear. By pure luck, the copy manages to dodge the projectile at the very last second. He lands right on the yeti's arm, and a pop-up says the beast's shield is starting to break. But since its HP is low, the creature triggers an absolutely insane enrage mode. Out of nowhere, an intense aura flares up, showing its strength just went through the roof. Then he clashes head-on with the monster's shield, which immediately starts cracking. With a massive boom, the shield completely shatters into a million pieces. The system officially declares victory as ice spikes freeze solid all over the place. But the clone's health is flashing a critical red warning and he's totally stunned. Completely out of breath, he can barely even stand after that wild beatdown. A bone-chilling wind blows past as he just tries to catch his breath. No one saw this coming. A giant eye blinks and the clone totally panics. The big boss says there's a rat in the house, while the clone zeroes in on the threat. And then this dude named Lojand watches the monster step into the cave. Laughing his head off, he says he just wanted to swipe his loot without biting the dust. Man, the skinny dude celebrates his crazy luck seeing the MC's clone knocked out cold right there. Now he uses a spell to shift the beast's aggro onto someone else. But out of nowhere, the giant boss monster blasts a massive blue beam right out of its eye. The impact is so heavy that Shen's shadow has to leap out of the way to avoid getting wiped out. And that brainwashed beast turns to absolute dust on the spot from the hit. That explosion sends the clone flying back from the crazy shockwave it created. Everyone is totally shocked because nobody thought the target was that fast. Then the bad guy realizes the shadow knows exactly where he's hiding. Our boy activated his X-ray vision to scan the whole area. That skill sees right through walls and pinpoints the guy in no time. Surrounded by pure darkness, the shadow rushes in completely locked and loaded. Bro, at this point the villain starts sweating bullets because he knows he's been busted. And wouldn't you know it, another giant laser from the monster hits that exact spot dead center. That brings the whole ceiling down, and the four-eyed dude has to make a run for it so he doesn't get squashed. Knocked down, he finally admits that the shadow is way more dangerous than he thought, but seeing it charge at him, he smirks, thinking his prey just walked right into his trap. He pops off some crazy skill to draw every single monster straight to the shadow, and in a flash, all the yetis in the cave turn their rage completely on it. A whole mob of monsters attacks all at once, completely surrounding the MC's shadow. Laughing his butt off, the guy mocks the shadow, thinking there's no way it makes it out of this. Except our boy's clone doesn't even flinch. He just gives this cool little smirk. And then the coward completely loses it, not understanding how someone can be so cocky when they are about to get wrecked. Then the shadow uses his vanishing power, just leaving a glowing light on the floor. In the blink of an eye, all the beasts stop their attack and just stand there confused. The bad guy starts shaking when he notices the shadow just vanished off the map, and he has no clue what to do. Making matters worse, all that monster aggro bounces right back onto him. He can't even believe it as he realizes he played himself in the goofiest way possible. Panicking, he tries to fight back, spamming some spells to save his own skin. From a distance, the mirror is watching it all go down, remembering that the quest specifically said no taking the first hit. He admits he never expected the bait and switch to work out so perfectly. His shadow suddenly pops up right in the middle of the smoke from that massive brawl. Then the guy gets hit by a critical strike and just wails in pain. And that is when everything changes. The boss completely takes the dude out right there, dropping him flat. Now that the coast is clear, the clone sinks his blade straight into the boss's eye. Using all his strength, he brutally strikes the monster's weak spot. And since his weapon got crushed, he uses his stealth skill again to make a quick getaway. But right before going down, the boss fires off one last laser from its eye, going completely crazy from the pain. The beam sweeps across the cave, absolutely wrecking everything in its path. When the blast finally stops, the creature fades away, leaving nothing but smoke. The quest finally wraps up. He levels up to 5 and locks in his skills. Our guy scores a top-tier item, that magic eye that can shoot freezing flames. The upgrades just keep coming. Everything gets a massive buff, and his dagger looks absolutely insane. The new weapon looks totally badass and is basically dripping with raw power. Right after that, the card poofs into smoke now that the mission is completely done. Back in his original body, hits level 5 thanks to a plug-in card. Shen realizes his clone actually leveled up more than he did, but it was totally worth it in the end. And then he unlocks a super dangerous new perk, stealing skills right before the target gets eliminated. With his eyes wide open, he realizes how OP it is. But if he messes up, it is completely game over for him. Right on cue, the exit portal spawns, showing off all his achievements and skills. Our boy steps right out of that purple portal looking absolutely majestic. With a focused, dead-set look in his eyes, he takes a deep breath for his next stop. Way off in the distance, he spots smoke rising up, leading straight to the shelter. But when he gets there, it is an absolute disaster zone with craters and knocked-out guys everywhere. The worst part is, the entire defense barrier got completely shattered by just one attack from the monster, and one of the guys inside recognizes the beast, saying it is some creepy merchant. This so-called merchant is straight up a giant monster now, and the bald dude has no idea what is going on. The bald dude asks for its level, but his partner brushes it off, because that doesn't even matter right now. Xiao Jia does not think twice and launches himself at the monster, sword ready to slice. He swings his weapon down with insane force, wrapped in the super aggressive blue aura. The impact blast crushes the ground, doing some heavy area damage. But his buddy literally can't believe what he is seeing coming out of the dust. Even Xiao Jia can't process what just happened and starts sweating bullets. And here is the game changer. The beast stopped the sword bare-handed and cracked the entire blade. Then it totally crushes the rest of the weapon using just its bare hands. Without missing a beat, it lands a massive punch on the swordsman, completely covered in dark magic. And in a split second, that hit blasts the guy way too hard. Watching this total nightmare unfold, the bald dude panics seeing his buddy completely knocked out. The guy flops to the ground like a ragdoll, completely wrecked, totally shaken up. The bald guy cries out, saying his spell wasn't even ready yet. At that point, the big bad monster steps right up and takes the bald guy out of the fight with zero mercy. From up top, another guy radios the boss, letting him know that both of them just bit the dust. Boss Shen Yuan tries to do some damage control, calling in the God of War to join the brawl. And then that shady dwarf raises that absolutely ridiculous hammer he was carrying. Using pure brute strength, he smashes that thing right against the base's barrier. Shen Yuan almost passes out when he sees the attack heading straight for him. But suddenly, this older dude tries to block the monster's smash bare-handed. Except he can't handle it at all and gets sent flying along with the entire barrier. And everyone just starts losing their minds, realizing this threat was way worse than they thought. Man, at that exact moment, the leader accepts that their defense is absolute garbage against this beast. And right after that, the dwarf just hops right in there like it is no big deal. Dripping with sweat, the boss realizes that everyone is about to get wiped out. But suddenly, someone jams a sword right in the middle, blocking the hit. The blade stuck in the ground totally blocks that sketchy dwarf from moving forward. And in comes the absolute legend, Zhang Ye, screaming that nobody is taking another step. Flexing crazy strength, he rips a massive boulder straight out of the ground with his bare hands. The big guy hurls the whole boulder at the monster with serious intent to destroy it. The rock shatters completely against it, but the beast just brushes it off without a single scratch. The dwarf claps back with a mega punch that launches the big guy straight into the wall. The girls up top start wondering if a gun would even be enough right now, and Ziyun shoots that down, saying bullets aren't gonna do a single thing to that guy. The little girl still questions if that giant guy is really as cracked as everyone says he is. Ziyun backs him up, saying he is the absolute best fighter they have to hold down the fort. But she adds that it really doesn't matter where the other fighter ran off to for now. Right then, a gunshot pops off from the other side and the fight just keeps going. Getting pushed back, the giant literally caves in the whole floor of the shelter with his boots. Feeling the heavy pressure, our guy accepts that it is time to stop playing games and really fight. and he lets out this totally savage roar that triples his rage and takes his power to the next level. His eyes pop out and his chest puffs up, completely ready to absolutely wreck that threat right there. With a clean punch, he unloads a combo packed with that insane red aura. The hit turns into an explosion that kicks up dust all over the place. The punch kicks up a crazy cloud of red energy that completely smashes everything. After that, an insane tornado is left spinning right at the point of impact. Out of breath, the big guy swears the enemy bit the dust, or at least got wiped off the map. From up top, the sniper flexes, saying she already knew he was gonna handle it, and she celebrates with her partner like they already won the whole game. But suddenly, that red energy starts crawling back across the floor. Laid out on the rocks, the beast's body flashes with these crazy green crosses, and then the tables turn. Zhang Ye gets totally spooked and has no clue where that glow is coming from. And wouldn't you know it, when the dust settles, the dwarf is standing right back up, good as new. In the blink of an eye, the beast spawns right behind the big guy with its hammer raised high. The dude completely freezes up, not even processing how that monster is still in the game. With zero chill, the merchant brings the hammer down super hard on the poor guy. The hit is so violent that rocks go flying and he gets launched way out of there. Totally panicking, the girl cries, seeing the warrior hit the ground like a ton of bricks. Taking advantage of the opening, the merchant is already charging up that whirlwind hammer move, spinning like a maniac. He fires off a super fast ring of yellow energy. The blast totally crushes the center of the shelter, leaving behind a massive hole. The little dwarf crosses his arms, looking totally full of himself right in the middle of all that mess. Suddenly, our MC pops out of nowhere and throws a punch right into thin air. And right then, the beast's hammer lights up with this super bright yellow glow. Desperate, the boss yells for everyone to rush the dwarf right now. And right after, a red beam blows up the building again, causing absolute chaos. Xion pushes her friend away and tells her to bail so she doesn't get caught in the crossfire. But the dwarf jumps straight at the two of them with his hammer ready to squash them flat. Xion turns around and yells at her partner to run away and never look back. The girl looks up, completely paralyzed with panic at what is coming. The giant hammer comes down to turn poor Xion into absolute mashed potatoes. Being super brave, she hugs the girl, trying to act as a human shield. Sweating bullets, she closes her eyes just waiting for that final hit to land. Crying, she faces the end head-on with a ton of courage. But man, right at that moment a giant rock shoots up from the ground and blocks a hit. Then our boy drops the psychic curse right off the bat. A bunch of purple bursts pop out of the ground, hitting the beast dead center. And that magic strike launches the dwarf into the air with zero mercy. He slams into the hard floor, taking a totally brutal hit to the back. Without wasting a single second, Shen hits the beast with the furious toad curse. A red light covers its body, already starting to distort everything. But the magic completely fails when a slash of light hits the guy by surprise. The shadow sees that the punk's health bar didn't even flinch from all that beating. To make things worse, the beast's health bar starts filling right back up super fast. The spirit realizes right away that somebody's healing that scumbag. At that point, the kid tells the shadow to deal with the support while he holds off the boss. In a flash, the creature vanishes from sight, going straight for its target. On the flip side, the dwarf is already comboing into that whirlwind hammer again. But the boy pulls up his red mana shield to tank the hit. The impact creates a giant flash when it slams into the red barrier. He holds his ground, but the barrier cracks all over from the heavy pressure. Even with it cracked, he toughs it out like a champ, holding the shield right there. Playing it cool, he hits right back with the expanding shield using everything he has got. That spell fires off a blue wave that drags the enemy far away. But the merchant is tough as nails, planting his feet and stopping his knockback. Completely furious, he pulls out his sword and totally shreds the shield magic into two pieces. The little dwarf slips through the barrier and rushes our boy with everything he has. Shen Jinfeng realizes he is just taking hits on purpose since he heals up so fast, but he just smirks, thinking this beast's strategy is exactly what he wanted. And then he angrily unleashes the curse of agonizing torment. The spell hits dead center and the dwarf totally twists up in pure pain. Seeing the opening, he already conjures the psychic hammer right over the beast. He drops a giant purple hammer right on the enemy's head now. Jinfeng notices his health is hitting zero and waits for the support to finally show up. And what do you know? A healer is hiding in the bushes, glowing totally green. Kai Sichi is super lost because she really thought the shelter had already fallen. She decides to heal herself to the max because she can't believe anyone would actually go toe-to-toe with a boss. But right in the middle of her healing, something super creepy pops up behind her back. She panics, having no idea why the heck her magic just cut off out of nowhere. Nobody saw this coming. An energy blade spawns right at her neck. The shadow found her and wants to know what on earth she actually is. The clone warns her that he cut off her mana, and if she tries to force a spell, she is going to be in big trouble. Completely unhinged, she screams that she is going to mind control him so he takes himself out. But then the tables turn, a green light wraps around her and she completely freezes up. Terrified, she starts coughing up badly, taking major internal damage without knowing what kind of witchcraft is messing with her body. And just like that, the woman gets completely crushed by this massive force that flattens her on the spot. The spirit shows up and gives his master the heads up that the woman is totally out of the picture. Meanwhile, the dwarf merchant takes a storm of red shots, and the whole place blows up. Spinning his weapon, Jin Feng announces he is going to finish slicing up that scumbag. He locks his eyes in and sees it is the perfect time for the final strike to wipe out his health bar. But the dwarf isn't throwing in the towel, and he pulls out this golden item that glows like crazy. Shen completely freezes seeing those little red lights floating all around him right there. Thrown on the ground, the healer laughs like a total psycho, thinking they already got the win. The merchant calls everyone idiots for thinking his healing was the actual problem. The clone even complains about the woman's laugh, saying he would take her out right there if he could. And that is when everything changes. The dwarf bulks up until he turns into this colossal giant. Our MC gets that a boss always has a final move up their sleeve. He gets a little sketched out by the sheer amount of power the beast is dropping right now. The giant monster grabs his hammer, which is now shooting lightning everywhere. Spinning the thing, he slams it into the ground, completely tearing up craters with that absurd hit. Shen connects the dots and realizes the guy's plan is to blow the whole place sky high. Covered in pure red rage, the beast winds up for a mountain-shattering strike. Without thinking twice, he uses his mirror dash and hits level 6. The MC's power clashes with the giant's strength, setting off an absolutely ridiculous explosion. The hammer smash gets stuck on an invisible barrier, causing this massive pop of light. The blast shatters every single window in the shelter from how heavy that impact was, and the floor cracks from end to end, kicking up a ton of dust right along with the rubble. From the ground, the healer's jaw totally drops as she tries to figure out that perfect defense. Thrown off balance, the beast flies backward like a sack of potatoes in the process. Looking totally goofy, the big guy tries to understand who just blocked his strongest hit. Using the curse, the boy throws purple spikes that pierce the giant all over. He mutters that it doesn't do a ton of damage to a guy that huge, but at least it slows him down. The big guy is so distracted he doesn't even realize there's a red shadow sneaking up behind him for an ambush. And a single leap, the shadow blasts right through him with a heavy hit to the back. The system chimes in saying the dwarf got taken down, and the shadow sucks up all his loot. Staring at that level 6 card, our boy is already dreaming about how much of a game changer this will be later on. Completely mind-blown, the healer can't wrap her head around how he managed to beat such a ridiculously strong monster. He just smirks and gives a heads up that he's going to link his mind with the mirror right then and there. Meanwhile, the woman looks over and completely freaks out when she realizes the shadow monster just vanished. Out of absolutely nowhere, the creature pops back up right in her face looking mad as heck. This massive shadow just stands there glaring down at the poor girl. Panicking, she realizes she's next on the menu and decides to dip out of there ASAP. Since her magic was finally recharging, her game plan was to land a sneak attack while he wasn't paying attention. Without a second thought, she hits the beast right in the face with her mind control spell. That power forces the shadow to turn its own weapon against itself. And would you look at that, the spell actually works and the spirit ends up taking some heavy damage. Laughing it up, the villain tries to make a run for it, totally thinking she just pulled a fast one on the kid. But the hand of that thing lying on the ground starts twitching again super slowly. Far away from all that, the woman is booking it like crazy through the woods. A voice suddenly calls out her name, making the runaway freeze dead in her tracks. Up on the rocks, there's a dude in a suit staring her down in the creepiest way possible. She jumps back in shock and recognizes the guy as the infamous Boss Yao. Acting all mysterious, the guy asks for a status update on her mission. Quick on her feet, she says she did everything right but some kid threw a wrench in the plans. But she swears he doesn't need to sweat it, because the problem has already been taken care of. The guy thinks that's super sketchy and asks what on earth she's talking about regarding a tribute. Totally confused, the woman reminds him that he was the one who ordered her to collect the fee in the first place. The dude questions why she isn't calling him by his real name, trying to suck up to him. She explains it was just an old habit from their corporate days. And right then and there, the vibe completely shifts. It finally clicks for her and pure panic takes over her face. That awful gut feeling makes her start repeating that this is impossible over and over again. The system reveals that Shen actually swiped her ability earlier and used it right back at her. In reality, the magic hit her exactly when she thought she was throwing hands with the shadow. Now she gets a flashback of seeing the creature taking damage back in the forest, followed right away by the memory of her running off thinking she actually won the fight. With that, homegirl realizes she got completely played and that the guy in the suit is literally Jinfeng in disguise. Staring down his enemy, our MC smirks, confirming that she is absolutely spot on. Mad as a hatter, the villain tries to pop her power again to force him to just end it all. But a loud, nasty crunching sound shatters the silence. The spell completely backfires and she ends up taking a critical hit to the neck right then and there. Popping up nearby, the shadow apologizes for going a little too hard and failing to interrogate her. Shen tells him it's all good because now her clone will be able to track the target super easily. Without wasting a single second, he fires up the process to turn the woman into a mirror. The body on the ground gets completely engulfed by some super heavy magic. Out of the mist, a perfect copy of the healer just materializes. Wrapping things up, her level 6 clone is good to go, fully loaded with all her healing powers. Back at the shelter, the vibe is super tense as night falls over the busted-up building. The main guy sneaks up to the front door to peek at what's going down. Just then, Li Yuan comes running up all stoked, calling him Big Bro. Jin Fong cracks a smile and says fate brought them together again. Super grateful, the girl promises to give him a proper thank you once this meeting is a wrap. That leaves him hanging, so he asks what the deal is with this super important meeting. She explains that the squad took some heavy losses, and now they gotta figure out their next move. Inside the closed room, one of the guys is yelling at the top of his lungs about how he refuses to fight anymore. The boss slams his fist on the table, blaming their current mess on the stubborn habit of resisting. The MC's status panel pops up at level 6, flexing the new spells he just jacked. But one of the members claps back, warning that paying tribute forever is going to completely bankrupt the shelter. Getting heated, the leader reminds them that there's literally no way left to farm experience around those parts. Listening to all this drama from outside, our boy is totally eavesdropping. He asks what the deal is, and the girl explains that the veterans totally hogged all the resources. That totally catches the kid off guard since he figured everyone spawned in at the exact same time. She spills the tea that the newbies are stuck, farming weak mobs and lose half of their loot to taxes. Cutting back to the argument, one guy is fully flipping out because the tax got hiked up to 70%. The big dude screams at him to just deal with the leftovers and tells him to go fight on the front lines next time. Completely out of comebacks, the guy swallows hard, totally sweating bullets. Right then, someone brings up that they could just count on Jinfeng, who literally just completely clapped the boss. Another dude immediately bursts their bubble, saying it was just dumb luck and he'll be hard stuck at his level soon enough. Thinking it over, our hero realizes he actually did rack up some EXP throwing down with that villain. He realizes that jacking other people's skills gave him a cheat code to level up in this world. Outside, the little girl hands our boy a piece of candy as a thank you gift. Giggling, she tells him to just ignore the grumpy boss, saying the guy's got rocks in his head. Right on cue, that Shen Yuan guy lets out a loud sneeze back inside the room. The dude lays down the law, decreeing they're going to pay the totally rigged tax just to survive another day. Changing the subject, the MC asks if the girl is running low on any basic supplies. But Denzian bursts into the tent out of nowhere, getting all flirty and calling him handsome. Feeling totally awkward, the guy apologizes for crashing their space. The woman brushes it off, thanking him because he literally saved everyone's bacon that day. As a reward, she hands over a bag totally stuffed with gear and emergency items. There's a little potion, a ring, and some magic bread stashed in there. She makes sure he knows that the green ring is literally the most valuable treasure they've got. Backing her up, Li Yuhan says her friend manages the stash and is super reliable. Our hero tries to offer something in return, but the girl waves it off, saying there's no need for all that formal stuff. Then a light bulb goes off and he remembers that the merchant's inventory has got to be saved in his system. Holding out his hand with a purple glow, he summons that giant shadow right inside the tent. That dark colossus pops in, instantly making the vibe insanely heavy in the tiny tent. Out in the camp, the boss feels that killer aura and starts sweating bullets. Shaking in his boots, the big guy yells out, totally convinced a monster just breached the base. Jinfeng tells the shadow to chill out so it doesn't terrify everyone outside. Being all dramatic, the beast shrinks down, begging for forgiveness, and immediately gets the order to pull out the loot. A sick-looking bracelet materializes out of thin air right in the creature's hand. Shook to her core, the woman totally loses it, saying she's never even seen blue tier gear in her life. She's completely mind-blown by it, but our boy knows his stash is absolutely busted. And it doesn't stop there. The shadow dumps a sword, a dagger, and a whole bunch of other weapons right on the table. The girls' jaws drop when they realize his literal trash is 1,000 times better than their prized treasure. Meanwhile, outside, the leader is rallying the troops, warning them that the threat is inside the tent. The guy orders everyone to gear up and get ready to tear the tent down the second he gives the signal.